Did you know that Woolworths stole their name and entire business concept from a company that already existed? And I don't mean like they saw a Piggly Wiggly and then went, oh cool, we're going to do that too, but we'll do it under my name. I mean, nobody called Woolworths in Australia ever invented a grocery store. Let me explain. Just to backtrack a little so you understand the reference I just made, Piggly Wiggly was the first grocery store as we know them, self-service and whatnot. Before Piggly Wiggly, you'd rock up to a grocery store with a list, hand it to someone, they'd come back with all your groceries, right? But Piggly Wiggly, you wandered around doing self-serve in the way that we do groceries these days, right? So that now you understand the reference I made, Piggly Wiggly. No one just saw a Piggly Wiggly and went, oh, we're going to create that in Australia, right? That's not how it happened. W Woolworth and Co. was invented in 1879, but they were a five and dime store, which, you know, if you don't know what a five and dime store is, think like Kmart, Target, Go-Low, like the Reject Shop here in Australia, stuff like it's cheap department store type things, but non-perishable food. FW Woolworth and Co. were invented in 1879, but they were a five and dime store until Piggly Wiggly came along in 1916, and so FW Woolworth and Co. pivoted because it was a much better business model. And thus, five blokes in Australia, in Sydney, who had done a fair bit of travelling. They were all businessmen, they all owned businesses. Can't remember their surnames, but I wrote down their first names. You'd think I would have written down their surnames too. Perry, Cecil, Stanley, George, and Ernest, right? Pulled their money together to create a grocery store in Sydney. And because the one they'd seen was called Woolworths in America, they just stole the name. It wasn't accidental, it wasn't incidental, it was deliberate theft for brand recognition. Ernest, I can't remember his surname, but it was his idea, and he's on record saying, well, FW Woolworth and Co. didn't have the branding, didn't have all, like, they hadn't crossed their T's and dotted their I's in New South Wales, so we just took their name for name recognition, and that is the name that has stuck. And they don't deny it. I'm not making this up. You can go check the Woolworths website. They will proudly tell you that, like, their founders were a bit cheeky and made a bit cheeky decisions or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, they flat out stole a business's name for brand recognition. And I think that's hilarious. Interestingly enough, FW Woolworth and Co. no longer exist, right? They're not a grocery store anymore. The capital remains, the capital exists, the business itself has continued and shares a roof with a lot of Australian Woolworths companies because these days the company that was FW Woolworth and Co. is Foot Locker. Foot Locker. The more you know.